Welcome to Sexy Sunday, where we analyze sex scenes from films and TV shows, discuss what they tell us about the story, the characters, and more importantly, whether they're hot or not. I'm Jessica.
I'm Anushka.
And this is Sexy Sunday.
Today we're going to talk about Sex Education, a show created by Laurie Nunn for Netflix. It started airing in 2019. Season 3 just came out, and from season 1 to 3, I counted 39 sex scenes.
What are we counting as sex scenes, Anushka?
So I counted everything that includes like masturbation, people having sex, and I think I included a couple of like people are about to have sex or doing foreplay or whatever, like some really hot and heavy kissing. Hot and heavy. I've never said this. I've never said this in my life. I think the opening scene is a good place to start because it is a sex scene and it obviously is what introduces the show. We are totally going to spoil the show, like 100%.
Big spoilers ahead.
If you want to watch this, you've not watched it or not finished it yet, just go watch it, listen to this later. Yeah, Adam and Amy having sex. His parents are downstairs, really bored, having a horrible relationship. They're upstairs having sex, having a different kind of horrible disconnected relationship, which I think is also interesting. I think this opening scene is so good because they really show us so much about, first of all, Adam's personality.
I love when he fakes him coming because it's so funny the way he does it, and then Amy chiming in with, "Did you just fake it?"
I know, and I think it's so good that I think we always talk about girls faking it and never about boys like not coming. I thought it was really interesting to start with that, and it really just shows like so much of Adam's personality and his issues, and you know how disengaged he is from Amy, and he seems quite vulnerable, which obviously the next time we see him is like this big bully at school who's a bit dumb or whatever. I think it's quite interesting that the first thing we see is actually him being really like not in a great position of power kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't think of it in that way, but that's such a good point because he is in like a very vulnerable position because obviously having watched the show, he's gay, right? He's not. He doesn't he have a moment where he thinks?
I think he's bi. I think he's bi.
Yeah, right. So he's like grappling with that. So you kind of like see that disconnect, and you think that there's something there anyway. And does he? If I'm remembering this right, where there's a poster of a macho man.
Yeah. In season 2.
Oh, okay.
That's when him and Ola are talking, and she says she thinks she's bi or she thinks she's pan, and he's trying to convince himself that he's straight, and he's looking at like the girl on the poster while wanking, but then keeps on like eyeing up the guy. That's a really funny scene. But yeah, Adam and Amy, not the best sex scenes, I'd say, in general.
No, but I do like when you see Amy's evolution in her like sexualness, like rewatching it and seeing her like performing with Adam, and like then her going to Steve and Steve being like, "What is it that you want?" And she's like, "I have no idea." And then you have that whole like montage of her like masturbating and like figuring out everything that she wants, like what she likes.
Yeah, no, that was great. Like I think Amy has got a really good character arc.
Definitely.
In general.
She's such a good character. And like even her like in season 2 where she's like wanked on the bus, it's like you do see her evolution of like her growth. Yeah, and it's like it's very heartwarming to watch.
It is. Adam definitely is heartwarming to watch through the seasons.
Honestly, he was the best thing about season 3.
Yeah, he was.
And that was also which is interesting, like rewatching it from the beginning and kind of understanding his character a bit more and seeing him grapple with his sexuality. Like, yes, it was like a very similar trope of like bully turned like is actually gay, and that's why he's bullying the gay kid.
I read an article that was like an interview with the creators of the show, and they were saying that what they really liked to do with sex education was subverting the tropes. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, Adam is not subverting the trope, he is the trope, and so is Maeve. Like, this is not subverting the tropes at all.
Yeah, also a trope that annoys me so much in teen shows and teen whatevers is the whole like people whispering and pointing out. Like, it was the start of season 3 and Adam Groff comes back to school and they're like, oh, I heard he's gay now. It's like, no one, if you are unpopular, no one cares. Like, that's the thing, you are invisible. Like, yeah, maybe there's some bullying that goes on, but it's not as like overt as these shows try to make it out to be. Like, if anything, you just fade out into the background.
Yeah. I have a question while we're on Adam. Did you think, rewatching it, did you feel like in season 1 they were kind of trying to make you think that Adam and Jean were going to get together?
There's definitely moments, especially like near when Adam comes over for them to do like homework together and they smoke a joint and you think that they're gonna get it on.
And then there's like when they had the party, Adam and Jean have like this whole conversation because, you know, she comes with a car and to like check on notice or whatever, and Adam and her have a chat. I don't know, to me I was like, is he gonna get in the car? Are they gonna make out? I was kind of hoping.
I was literally just about to say that sounds like wishful thinking.
I think that would have been really fun, but they would have never done this because they were very, you know, appropriate show whilst being very like talking about sex and trying to be whatever. But they would have never done this because people would have been outraged at the age difference and Adam being 16 or whatever, so they would have never gone for that.
And that would not be subverting stereotypes.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
but they did Adam so dirty with Eric. Like, Eric didn't need to cheat again.
Eric is such a great character and is an amazing friend. He's such a shit boyfriend. Like, I'd completely forgotten the way he was with Raheem. He treats him so shit. Like, if you don't want to date him, don't date him.
Exactly. Like, I think there's part of him like struggling to, because it's obviously the first guy that's really liked him.
Yeah. And it is the hot guy that the popular kids like. So obviously, and Eric really wants to be popular and be seen and valued for who he is or whatever. So I guess I can see why he's like dating him even though he doesn't want to. And he's 16, he's allowed to be stupid and make mistakes. But I don't even like Raheem. I think he's got no personality. I don't understand. His whole thing is just I'm French and I'm moody all the time. I don't laugh at jokes.
No, and he likes poetry. Don't forget Pablo.
And he likes poetry a lot. Yes, that's true. Should we move on to my favorite boy, Jackson? And Maeve and Jackson. I am so obsessed with Jackson. I was already obsessed with Jackson the first time around, but rewatching it, I was like, I am still very much obsessed with Jackson. He is so hot.
He's his eyes for me. I just like, I want to dive into them. Get really... it, swimmer.
Oh God.
I'll see myself out now.
Very good, Jess. Very good. Maeve and Jackson definitely have sex scenes where it's like you just see the start of them or the end of them. Like, which I'm not saying they should show us like 15 minutes of them having sex because, you know, that would be completely pointless. Not that I would complain.
I was about to say, special extended cut, please.
But I think it's just very much like, I don't know, it just doesn't tell us much about them, whereas I feel like a lot of the other sex scenes are really well used to like move the plot along, tell us more about the characters. I feel like their sex scenes are genuinely just, oh, they're having sex, by the way, but that's about it.
Yeah, I see what you mean, because maybe it does tell us a little bit about just how it is quite,
they're not really into like connecting into with each other.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if they're having really hot sex, it would be nice to like not experience that as in like be super pervy as an audience, but be like just adding more to their, I don't know, chemistry.
Yeah.
Which you don't really see a lot of their chemistry. But I think that's also partly the problem with Maeve's character.
Mm-hmm.
That she's very like two-dimensional.
Yeah.
That it's like she's an angry teenage girl. doesn't want to let anyone in, has massive trust issues, never grows.
Well, the thing is, she grows every single end of seasons, and then the start of the next season, she reverts back to, I don't trust anyone. It's like you literally started trusting people like 5 episodes before. Why? It's just they just don't know what to do with her, I guess.
They don't, because they're like, well, if she's not this character who's angry, who is she? And it's like it gets so repetitive, because obviously she has someone to trust in Amy. I do like that scene with her and Amy where they're like, we can be each other's mums. Like, I was like, that makes my heart happy. Like that with other female friends, where I'm like, yes, we'll be each other's mum.
Definitely, but I do think she's she became quite a limited character, whereas in season 1 I think she had like more, she looked like she was gonna have more layers, but then they just carry on doing the same thing every season, so it just becomes quite repetitive. Jackson is also not getting enough, in my opinion. Like, I think season 1 was like quite interesting, season 2 really interesting, season 3 it's like, oh, who are you? Like, what's your story? You have no story.
Exactly. And that, like, because I really liked in season 2 where he had this whole identity crisis of like, who am I beyond being a swimmer? And then in season 3 they had to like wedge in another character and like destroy Viv in the process. Like, him and Viv had this really strong friendship, and then that was just destroyed in the process. And then like the cast of Sex Education and the whole world is so diverse. It just felt so wedged in when they brought in Cal,
because Cal has nothing in their personality apart from being non-binary, and that's not enough to make a character interesting. Like, all we know about them is they're American, I think, and they skateboard, I assume, because they're always walking with a skateboard, and they're non-binary, and that's literally it. And that's exactly what season 1 did so well, was Eric was not the black gay best friend. He was like Eric with everything else that Eric has, and he was very interesting, funny, cool, slightly self-centered, wanting to be popular. Like, I don't know, he has like so many different facets of his personality, like human beings do. And Cal did not get the chance to get that, just because they're one of however many main characters this season. Like, there's just no
so many main characters. It was so so disjointed. And you also have like, Jackson has 2 mums, and he just has 2 mums, and it was such like, I remember when I first saw it, and I was like, oh, okay. And it was just that's what made season 1 so great, was
so good,
so much diversity without it being like hammed in.
Also, can we talk about how Jackson can do splits for just 1 second? When he walks in, like when his first scene is in season 1, where it's like he's the head boy, he gets on stage and he's like doing a little bit of a dance, and then he just drops to the floor and does the splits and gets back up.
I do not remember this, but that was amazing.
You should rewatch it. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? This is great. You know, it's definitely not limber and definitely can't do the splits. Oh, that'd be so weird. It would look so weird if he did the splits. Otis. Otis doing the splits would look like such a weird, like, Pinocchio puppet. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, just like up and down.
Yeah. Oh my god, Otis actually really looks like Pinocchio. I'm just realizing now. Like, it really does.
It kind of does though. Like, what is that actually?
But yeah, all I noticed in the scene where Otis can't get hard, and he thinks it's because he's wonked too much, and literally all his reaction is to just shout at his penis, just being like, why isn't it getting hard? Why isn't it working? And I'm just like, I'm sure it's horrible being 16 and having your boyfriend like unable to get hard, but I'm pretty sure this is not going to help the situation at all, to just scream at it. Just being like, why isn't it working? Like, all that looks like someone who's got half a brain and would like think this through and not do that. Do you know what I mean? I was quite surprised by this.
I kind of took it as like her trying to lighten the mood, because isn't there like, because part of her is like annoyed and frustrated, but there's a point where she does make a little bit of a joke about it.
Oh, I'm sure she's not like, but she just, to me, she just looks really confused, like genuinely like, why isn't it working? I don't know. I feel like my penis wouldn't work if someone was like talking to me like this. It definitely wouldn't turn me on. So obviously you fancy Jakob a lot.
I do.
Which I don't understand, but that's okay. You're allowed.
Thank you.
So that scene where he's on the sofa with Jean, and then Otis basically falls in the stairs, and Ola and him find out that Jakob and Jean are seeing each other at this point, and Jakob is naked. That's not your favorite Jakob and Jean scene?
No, mine is like, because there's so much sexual tension that's really well built up between Jean and Jakob, and it's that moment where they finally kiss.
So I don't think I actually counted this as a sex scene. This show, for a show with so many sex scenes, is really not that sexy. Like, the sex scenes aren't very hot. That's not why they're here. Like, they're here to educate you or the characters. They're very awkward. It's a lot of teenagers not knowing what they're doing or having issues or whatever. Like, it's not, I'm not surprised that the sexiest scene is not actually a sex scene. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's like, it doesn't have to be a sex scene in order for it to be sexy. Because I think
exactly,
like, what really got me, because I feel I fancy Jakob anyway, like the kind of Norwegian, he's not, no, Swedish, yeah, just like the Scandinavian, like his eyes and just his general like quite huskiness. For those that can't
just
see,
really not my thing, but yeah,
screwing up her face and shaking her head. We have very different taste of men.
Yep.
And just like, oh, even his tattooed body is like really hot to me, and his bum, even though probably me talking about butts is gonna make you want to throw up.
Oh my god, yeah, no, I can't deal with, like, I'm already struggling with bums in general, but Jakob's bum is definitely something I don't need in my life.
I do find it funny when Otis and Ola come down the stairs and like he backs up and like falls into the coffee table.
That is really funny.
Yeah, but I just think they've done like with Jean and Jakob in season 1. They do is it season 1 and a bit of season 2? They do a really good job. Season 3, fuck you. Is all I can say. I hated the ending with Jean looking at the piece paternity of paper that's paternity test, which some people are saying that it could be her looking at Otis's paternity test, but why would she be doing that? That doesn't make any sense.
That makes no sense. Some people think Jean is looking at the paternity test and it's Ola, and they're saying like, oh, Jakob's not Ola's dad, and it's like, why is Jean testing Ola's like that? Like, that makes absolutely no sense. But that's what I mean, like, no matter which one they're going for, it either won't make sense and will be a stretch and will be shit, or it'll be Jakob's not the dad of her baby, and that'll be really shit and cliche, and it's just such a soap opera move. Like, it's just weird. Watching like Gossip Girl, it's weird.
Yeah, it was unnecessary. It was like there was already so much drama and tension in that scene of her like giving birth and then bleeding out, where I was like, Jean can't die. That you didn't need the extra drama of it. Like, there was so much of, this is the right thing, was so much of season 3 that just felt really heavy-handed, and going back to season 1, it was like, oh, it used to be subtle.
Eric and Otis were just really, really funny.
They were, and they had, like, I think it was towards the end of season 3 where you finally got to see them together, and I was like, oh, they just have such good rapport, and like, such like,
and that's so natural. They've got such great chemistry. Exactly. You really believe them to be best friends.
Yeah, and you feel like they've been friends for a really long time, and they know each other really well. And I do love when Otis is like, I think my penis has run out of erections. So I'm like, that's such a teenage thing.
He's not running out of erections. This is going to be such a shit transition. He's not running out of erections with Ruby, though. Let's talk about Otis and Ruby. And Ruby.
Otis and Ruby should be together, not Otis and Maeve.
Oh, absolutely. So I actually have one sex scene with Otis and Ruby that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So you know when they're like in her bedroom and they're having sex and he's like yes, and she's like no, and
That's
they keep on
such a
going.
hot scene.
Okay, so do you find it hot?
I think it's because you actually see someone topless because she's got her boobs out. She's got really nice boobs.
Does she?
Does she have her boobs out?
Oh, wait, I can't remember.
I feel like she does. Maybe she doesn't.
I thought she was in a bra.
Maybe she is in her bra. I don't know. There's something really hot about it. That's like that she's very much in control of the situation, but also that it's just like I don't know, when she says yes finally and Otis comes.
She says
like,
now, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I find that really, really hot. Do you not find it hot?
That's so interesting. So I don't find it not hot, but basically my thing was I feel like this scene would have been really interesting for the dynamic to be completely inverted, and I think it would have been so interesting if Otis was the one in control and she was the one being more like submissive, because obviously in their entire relationship in public she and in private obviously she's like the one who's got the power.
Yeah.
Well, except she doesn't, because in the end she's the one who's in love with him and he doesn't love her back. So, you know, she does lose, I know, that's very sad. She does lose her power. Like, she finally lets her guards down with him, but she is so afraid of being rejected and blah, 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 that she's constantly in this, like, I'm on top all the time. I think on one hand, I think it does make sense that she's like that even in sex, and she's like not even letting go there, and she's constantly like, no, I'm on top, literally, but also like emotionally on top, whatever. I don't know if emotion is the right word, but yeah. But I think it would have been really interesting because we know how much Ruby actually likes Otis, and even at that point, the sex scene, she's not in love with him yet, but I think she probably already has like quite a lot of feelings for him. I think it would have been really interesting because I think sex is really like the time where you're not the way you are in real normal life. And I think that's why sex scenes are so important and interesting, because they show us things about the characters in a vulnerable state when they're like not the way they present themselves to the world, or they are, like in Amy's case where she was like always performing kind of thing, but that also says something about her. And I guess Ruby being still like super dominant and in control does say something about her, but I think it would have been kind of more interesting for her to let go with Otis and for Otis to be dominating with her. I think that would have shown more of like how when it's just the two of them and then in this one particular situation where they're having sex, like she's actually, you kind of see the real her, which you do end up seeing, you know, when she tells him she loves him and stuff.
I see that now, because I think it would have been so especially when she starts to get feelings for him, how that dynamic kind of shifts. Like if you had that power play at the beginning with her like all in control and being like on top, and then as she starts to open up to him, allowing him, that would have been such a good way of like subtly showing that shift.
Exactly. I think that would have been quite interesting.
Definitely. Well, I have a question for you. You know, in season 2, after the party where him and Ruby have sex for the first time, that isn't it's not technically consensual. Or
I would say
doesn't.
I know what you mean. I don't particularly have a problem with it because Otis doesn't have a problem with it, but it annoys me that if it had been the other way around, people would totally have a problem with it, and they don't have a problem with it because it's the boy.
He also has that conversation with Ruby of like, did we consent to it? And she's like, well, I was fine with it. But then there's like nothing that
they're not really talking about whether he was,
which is so interesting for a show that's like so focused on consent that like they kind of skipped over that.
That is so true. That is such a good point, because they make definitely a big deal about it, which, you know, it is like consent's important and stuff, but I think they're really like hammering it down, and then they're completely overlooking this, like as if of course Otis was fine to have sex even if he doesn't even remember it.
Exactly.
Like it's just
even if he doesn't remember it, and they might not have used a condom.
That is a really good point. They're kind of because they're not really addressing it in any way, so I don't think it was a voluntary like, ooh, and then when it's boys, we don't talk about it. It's literally just like, no, we're not talking about this.
Yeah.
Speaking of consent, Maeve and Isaac.
Your favorite scene in the whole.
I'm not going to lie. This has become like the sex scene of hell for me. Like, I'm literally rewatching it. I was literally like cringing so hard, and I had to like look away from the TV, like every few seconds. I was like, no, I need to take a breather. I can't. Like, it genuinely, like, yeah, I found it horrible.
See, for me, in real life, if I was to do that with a partner, that would be really hot for me, to be like, what do you like? Is this okay? Like, that is really hot. But my issue with that scene was, what we've learned about Isaac is that he has listened to that voice message from Maeve and then deleted it. Like not from Maeve, but the one from Otis.
Yeah, from Otis. But Maeve knows this at that point.
Yes, exactly. And then she forgives him so quickly, yet for some reason doesn't forgive Otis. And then I at this point, I don't like Isaac's character.
Right.
Because
so is that your issue with this scene?
It also makes me feel uncomfortable because, unlike the sex scenes, it makes me feel like I've got a window to a really intimate moment. And there's something really different between like watching the sex scene that's really hot and then seeing that, because it's like, oh, that it kind of takes me out of it a bit. And I do think it's really great to see a different representation of sex on screen, especially with someone
definitely
in a wheelchair. But at the same time, it kind of, again, felt hammed in for diversity points.
I don't have that much of a problem with that, because I do think Isaac is a fleshed out character. And I think in season 2, especially, like, I think we do get to know him, and he's not the disabled kid. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think about Isaac, I do think he's got like a lot of things that we know about him. He's got a lot of different facets of his personality. So I don't particularly think that, but I know what you mean about this scene was like much more about intimacy than it was about sex. And intimacy is gross. Just to be really mature about it. It's just really awkward.
Intimacy on screen is really gross.
It's really hard to watch.
It is, because you're like, this should be a moment between two people. I shouldn't have a window into this. And I feel like there's rarely been a time when it's done well. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but
I hear a lot of people being like, it's so important that this scene is shown on TV to show people how to be consensual. And that's kind of my issue with Sex Education season 3, is I feel like they've stopped being about teenagers educating other teenagers, and now it's literally like characters educating the viewers. Like, I feel like the writers are trying to educate us through the characters, and I feel like that's all they're trying to do. Like, storylines don't matter anymore. They just want to teach us stuff. And I'm not watching TV to be educated. Like, I'm watching it to be entertained. If I find, like, I thought in season 1, the whole thing with the vaginismus with Lily was brought up so naturally, it was done so well, and I bet there's people watch the show who have vaginismus, didn't know about it, found out that was great. Like, if it can bring you something and educate you, that is amazing, but it should be like a bonus. It shouldn't be the point of the TV show, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree in that way, because it's like the point of season 3 where I was like, I'm not enjoying this anymore, was when Amy and Maeve are talking about different labias, and Maeve is like, you should read Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. And it was like, I've read that book. It is a very good book. I highly implore everyone to read it. But it was just felt so pointed towards the audience. And I was like, it really took me out of it, because I was like,
it's like you almost expect Maeve to look at the camera and be like, and you can buy it with a discount. Sex Education 113.
Like, exactly. And I think, like, to a certain extent, like, TV and movies do educate because you like by proxy, because you see something on screen, and if you see it enough, you assume that to be the norm. But at the same time, it's like, can art not just exist for art's sake sometimes? Like, it doesn't need to be educational. Like, obviously sex education, it's in the name, but I feel, and even like in season 2 where you had an asexual character, I felt like that was brought up really well, because it was like, we're in a school where everyone's surrounded by sex, and then she's like, I don't even want this. For me, that felt really natural, because it was like, it didn't feel like it was pushed in anywhere. It would have been nice to see more of that character, to be fair, but they already had a lot of characters. But by season 3, I feel like, I don't know, you might have different thoughts.
No, I agree. I'm just thinking of Maeve and Otis, which are genuinely the couple I'm the least excited about, like talking about them, and they should be the main one. I'm just so over them.
I'm so over it, because it's like, you could have easily transitioned them into being friends. And I don't like, when they kiss, I'm like, okay. Like, it was, what I enjoyed was in season 1 where they were in the swimming pool and he gets a boner. Oh,
that was so good. That was such a good scene. And the tension and the chemistry when they were in the swimming pool was so good.
Yeah. But they haven't done enough to like build up their chemistry in this season, mainly because they have too many fucking characters.
They have way too many characters. Maeve became such a boring person. I just don't care about her. I literally want her to stay in America and not come back. I'm not invested at all.
It was such a reductionist thing to be like, oh, we're finally together. Oh, I've got on this program. When do you leave? Tomorrow. Yeah. Bye.
Yeah. Like, that's really like playing with the audience. And I think they're like, I don't know if the writers are kind of scared of putting them together, because they know that when you drag on will they won't they for so long, when the characters do get together, it's usually boring. Exactly. Like, it's very rare that you can succeed at the relationship.
Yeah.
But there's a point where it's like, we don't even want, like, I don't even want them to get together anymore. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. I'm like, you did Ruby dirty, because once Ruby and Otis broke up, we didn't see her until she punched the headmistress in the face, which was so unnecessary.
What do you think the first Maeve and Otis sex scene is going to be like?
Oh, I think it'd be really tender.
Ew. I think so too, and I'm really scared.
It won't be hot. It won't be. No. Like, it will be really passionate, and it will like have elements of her and Isaac and like that. Also, going back to that consent thing, rewatching it, there's already a lot of displays of consent with like him and Ola always asking.
Yeah. It's see, like, with him and Ola, when they're touching each other and being like, is that okay? Is that okay? Like, I'm not like, I think that's fine. I'm not I think that's like the big authority on it. No, but I'm not like, ew, gross. Like, I think it's just with Isaac, they really overdid it, in my opinion. Yeah, I do think you're right. I think their first sex scene together is going to be boring.
Yeah.
No, it'll be very like with all the feelings.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, because I can also see it being used for something that would need the sex clinic, basically, where Otis is going to be like, oh shit, like maybe he'll come super quickly, maybe, like, I can kind of imagine it being like, oh, they're finally having sex, and then it goes wrong.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past the writers. They did give them one of their first kiss in season 3 to be when it's raining.
That was so bad. That was literally like, am I watching One Tree Hill? Like, what is this? What is this? Unless they were like referencing like shitty teen dramas, which I mean, I obviously love, but that's not what I'm expecting when I'm watching Sex Education.
No, exactly.
You know what else? And I know we talked about Eric before, but just something that I just thought of. When Eric cheats on Adam, he talks about it to Otis, and he said that he felt free. that is such bullshit, because they didn't build up to that at all. It's not like we see Eric feeling trapped in the relationship a single time. And then
Yeah.
suddenly it's like, oh, I felt free. It's like, well, when did you not feel free with Adam?
I feel like they're going to bring in next season that he's polyamorous.
Absolutely, absolutely. Or yeah, he'll want to be in open relationships for sure, which is fine. But if they had brought it up in a natural, like more organic way, where it's like he's really happy with Adam, but he feels a bit trapped, he feels a bit whatever, like I would have been a bit more interested in it. I feel like he's completely fine, and then he literally goes away, hooks up with the first gay guy he meets, and then he comes back and he's like, oh, sorry, not sorry. And it's just like, well, you're being fake.
Do you regret doing it? And he's like, no, I don't.
Random thoughts on other people, or other characters' sex
Oh,
scenes.
yes. Oh, yes.
Olivia's boyfriend is always lying down and she's always on top. It's ridiculous. He's the laziest man alive. Like, he's literally never making any effort during sex. And that upsets me.
I never like that just never crossed my mind, but now thinking about it, he does just lie there,
which I always think is funny. The teachers,
oh,
why is she so hot? First of all,
she's so hot. I don't know how, because she feels like she should be really plain, but it's when she gets into like the dirty talk character.
I think she's really pretty anyway, but I do know like she gets hotter, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, and like I love that build up with her and the male teacher, and he's like, what did he say, spatula? And he's like, Baba Ganoush.
I think that's like one of those that it's secondary and doesn't take too much screen time and it's quite enjoyable when they're on screen. And like, I don't know, Adam's dad, who became like a main character this season for some reason. And you know, nothing against him. The actor's really good, but I'm just not. It's detrimental to all the storylines.
Yeah, and I also think people are raving about him having this redemption arc, but he doesn't do it. He doesn't try and mend his relationship with Adam. He focuses solely on.
He's all about his wife.
Exactly, Maureen. And I think it is really great that you get to see him rediscovering this passion of cooking that he had from his mother. That's really beautiful, but you don't get to see him try and reconcile, because he was horrible to Adam. He was horrific.
He was.
Definitely. And it made me feel a bit weird to sympathize with him, because I was like, I just have too much of a soft spot for Adam.
All right, so to wrap it up, I have a question. Since you're a bit more open to this kind of things than I am, I'd say, would you go to one of Jean's vagina workshop?
Oh, 100%.
I can so see you going there. I can see you in that room. Like, literally, when I was watching, I was like, this is so up Jess's street.
I can imagine you just like in the corner, just like cringing the whole time.
Yeah,
being it's so really uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I think it'd be more, because I'm not uncomfortable with people talking about vaginas. It's more like she'd be really like spiritual about it.
Oh yeah,
but that's where you thrive. So on a scale, oh yeah, go on.
I was gonna say honorary mention to Jean's wardrobe.
Yes. Oh my god. Yes, like 100%. That is probably sexier than all the sex scenes in the show. Oh, her jumpsuit. Like, I am obsessed.
Amazing.
So on a scale from 1 to 10, how hot is this show?
Maybe like a 4 or 5.
Is that because the scenes aren't actually that sexy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, in terms of like how much sex there is on this show,
oh,
like,
that's
probably a 9.5. But yeah, it's just the sex scenes aren't hot.
Exactly. It's like it's awkward teenage sex.
Yeah,
which is good, but it's not sexy.
So what are we going to talk about next time?
So next time we're going to talk about Entourage, which
very exciting.
I haven't seen, but Anushka loves the show. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to watch the sex scenes and then try and infer about the characters from the sex scenes. Should be an interesting.
You can tell quite a lot about the characters to the sex scenes in that show. So I'm really interested to see what you come up with.
I'm really excited because you've told me a bit about the show, actually like quite a bit about the show. So I'm excited to actually like see bits of it. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening. We hope you enjoyed our first episode on sex education.
And see you next time.
Yes.